Good evening. Welcome you all. My name is Sury Soni. I'm trustee of FIAV and AICCT. This is a VICHAR webinar series. It's an initiative of FIAV, and this is the fifth webinar. It's a weekly webinar, every Wednesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. And we encourage community to come forward, bring experts in diverse fields to be speaker on this forum. Today we have Dinesh Methuku as our speaker. Welcome, Dinesh ji. And you have 12 plus years experience in pharma, healthcare, and food microbiology. You have done engineering from India, did your master's in biotech and genetics in Melbourne. Then you did your MBA from Melbourne Business Schools as well. So you bring a lot of experience. You build your own community in health awareness, and you have been sharing your wisdom with wider community already. I found out your details through a common friend, and I really wish that your knowledge and wisdom can be passed on to the wider community. And so here we are. And over to you, Dineshji. Please share if I miss anything in your introduction, and you can share a screen later to start the presentation.
No problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Dinesh Methuku. And as Suryaji has mentioned, I have deep passion for life sciences. I've been in pharmaceutical manufacturing, in QA roles, and in microbiology and whatnot across pharmaceutical manufacturing, healthcare. Currently, I'm working in water utility in an organizational change role. After I finished my MBA, I sort of transitioned towards into this role as I'm more interested in technology and AI, and also at the same time I'm very much interested in change and psychology that goes behind change, because change fundamentally is part of adopting a healthy lifestyle as well. So yeah, that's how my interest sort of overlaps. And I'm really glad to be here and share some wealth of knowledge that I've accrued through my journey.
Yep, sounds really exciting. Please, share your screen.
Okay, like I said, so just give me one moment. Yep. So yeah, like I said, that's my qualification. So why did I actually start talking about health? It's been almost 2 to 3 years now. I started making videos on health, wellness, and how it connects to day-to-day living. And I call it wealth because, again, success is different for every person and everyone has their own goals. So if someone has to perform really well, then they need to first optimize their mind and body. And that's why I try to connect all these three things. And I do see them as a Venn diagram overlapping with each other. When these three are aligned, then our performance will be, our bodies can perform really well and make the right decisions. And hence is why I put these three things together. Now, I don't know if we want to do this, Suryaji. I just thought people can scan the QR code and put some words around what successful life means for each participant. Do you want us to do this or skip this activity?
I think we can unmute ourselves and share our thoughts directly because the audience is very small, and we can just take turns to share our interpretation of what success means for us.
Yeah, so like I said, for me, success is all about body and mind and making the right decisions and right choices every day. Yeah, please feel free to chime in, give us your 2 cents on what successful life actually means to you.
Yeah, I'll request Khagesh to unmute and please share your wisdom on what's the definition of success for you. Then I'll come to Santoshji, Ashishji, and Surabji. Khakeshji, you're on mute. You need to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, success is a very strange word yeah, purely because it means a lot of different things to different people. For me, I think success is if I'm content and happy that I've been able to do what I wanted to do. I've been able to achieve whatever I have wanted to achieve, and I'm of some use to myself and to all the people around me. I think that's a successful situation.
Yep. Thank you, Khakeshji. So, yep. Thank you. Santoshji, you can unmute yourself and share your wisdom.
Success is, of course, a relative term, but to me, ever since I was out of the regular employment in the form of a retirement, my definition of success changed, and I believed in using my knowledge and whatever I know for the sake of community, and want to keep myself occupied in the sense of doing what I was doing earlier. I don't want to say retirement it changes my phase of life. You see, retirement is just a uh, just a uh, just a stop, life is a ongoing thing on an unending road, and uh, where you stop, for example, in good old days, you used to stop, कहाँ पे रुक गए पानी पीने के लिए, but then again चल दिए. So this is just a phase, and we continue doing it. And fortunately for me, I was getting opportunities. Maybe I wanted such thing, and things knocked my door, and I was able to. My contribution is that I accepted whatever that came to my way. I accept and continue doing it. And to me, keeping yourself occupied mentally, physically is a good success for a person whom community defines as a person who has done what he had to do. I don't believe that. I believe that the top person will decide when we drop dead. That is the day we stop.
Yep.
Otherwise, we continue.
Thank you so much, Santoshji. Very wise wisdom there. Ashishji, what's your interpretation of success?
It's actually much simpler for me, which somewhere it applies to all of us because that is what we try to do. For me, definition of success is really simple. If I'm a better version of myself than what I was yesterday, then for me that's a success because whatever I did in the last 24 hours, I'm a better person. And if I could do that, then I guess I'm successful.
Suryaji, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Saragji, over to you. You're on mute. Yeah.
Success for me would be achieving small goals every day and be better person every day. Yeah, like at the end of the day, when I've been following Dinesh for some time, and he do a meditation before go to sleep, and that's when you start to think about how was your day and did you achieve something. So I think just becoming your better person every day is what is success for me.
Yep. Thank you, Sarag. I can share my quick thoughts there that what I learned from one of the professor in one of the webinars I did late last year is that the net contribution back to society, if you are taker from the society, but if you're not going back to the society, if your net difference is that you have given something back to the world is better because of you, then you can call yourself as a successful person. So that's my simple. But if I bring the philosophy from Indian philosophy, there are 7 pleasures, and the first is health. If you're not healthy, all your other achievements are wasteful. If your health is not good, sir, health is wealth. So yeah, I think the topic aligns with the health as well. So back to you, Dinesh.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And for me, the takeaway message is from everyone. The common point is that every day we have to perform better, and that performance actually comes again, like as Suryaji said, from health and our biology. So basically, we have this biology, which is a complex machine. We have to use this biology to its full potential. Again, everyone has different capabilities, but as Ashish ji and Suraj ji also said, that we have to perform better than yesterday, reflect, and keep moving forward, and ultimately serve the community. That's what successful life means, which is fantastic. So, in my opinion, how can we achieve that? We achieve by the biggest machine that we have, the most complicated machine we have, is our biology, which is our body. And there are so many different inputs that goes into our body, and all of these inputs are in absolute control, are in our control, right? The food that we eat, the exercise, how we sleep, how we perceive stress, how we look after our mind and soul and our hormones, everything will enable us to perform better. And those tiny nuances and improvements that we make day in, day out in trying to use this machine more efficiently and make it perform better, the better decisions we'll be able to make on a day-to-day basis and ultimately serve the community better. Okay, now one thing I want to clarify is that there is no magic pill. There are so many videos floating out there. Ye khao, wo khao, eat this, eat that, you'll perform better. It unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. When it comes to health, life, holistic performance, it is a holistic thing. So, like I said in my previous slide, there are all these different factors. We need to optimize and balance all of those, and only then the entire biology is in a state of homeostasis, which is a balanced state, and ultimately that will enable you to perform better. So if you're getting any advice that is more isolated, see how it fits into your overall health regime, and then think about whether it's the right inputs into your holistic plan or not, and then you take it from there. But nowadays in social media, we see a lot of videos and stuff floating around that you do this, it'll definitely work. That may not be the case for any individual person, because every person is very different. Now, change is hard. Change is hard, but why? And that's mainly because it is, if we break it down into simple terms, when we go to school back then, we were asked to study tables, mathematical tables. 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6, and we repeat that, right? And over time we just remember, and that just sticks in our mind, right? And it sticks in our mind in such a way that if someone asks us 2 2s are, we won't say 8. Like, it's so hard for us to say 8. And in the similar way, change is difficult. And that is because every single day, every action, every activity that we are undertaking is actually, our brain has this amazing capability called neuroplasticity, and it's actually hardwiring those circuits responsible for those activities. And hence is why change becomes a little difficult. But is it impossible? It's absolutely not. So when you feel that, okay, this is hardwired, that is when you have to break the chain and start forming those new neural networks that will enable you to embrace new changes and embrace these new habits. And particularly when you talk about the benefits that come with that change, you need to have more emphasis in your mind that, okay, I have benefits, I have to do this. And that way, when you start taking those smaller steps, eventually your brain will start forming these new neural networks and change becomes easy. How I train my brain, I try to change things all the time. I mean, I try to make better changes all the time. If I am sitting in a particular posture and I'm working, I try to explore: is there a better posture than what I'm sitting? Is there a better way to work? Is there a better way to do things? So my brain is constantly looking for change. So that is one really good way to embrace change into our lives. Okay, now with all that said, I would like to talk a little bit about food, because food is fundamentally the most important thing that we all associate with. As soon as it comes to health, we talk about healthy eating, healthy foods, and whatnot. So there are two different layers to this. One is energy, food as energy, and the other is every different food component has its own purpose. So if we talk about energy, you may have heard about carbon cycle. Now we are talking about carbon neutral, carbon emissions, and all that. This entire world is operating on a carbon exchange cycle. That means we take carbon from another entity and then we store it, or we release it out. Now our bodies are a collection of carbons. So ever since we are born, we are accumulating more and more carbon, and then when we perish, we'll let go of that carbon. So when it comes to food, it's an interaction between photosynthesis and respiration. What plants do, they take sunlight and they take oxygen in, combine them both in their chlorophyll, and create glucose. Now, glucose is something plants, animals, and us, we eat, and then we inhale carbon dioxide, and we inhale oxygen, and we break the bonds, release some energy, and let out carbon dioxide and hydrogen. So fundamentally, that's the carbon exchange that is happening between plants and us. And we use glucose, like I said, combine it with oxygen, release carbon dioxide and water, and release some energy in the form of heat. And we use that across all our day-to-day activities. Is it that simple? Unfortunately not. It is very complicated. Biochemistry, the processes that happen in the background, there are so many several steps. So as you can see, this is inside a cell. Glucose enters into the cell and it goes through several of these processes. And at every process, every step, you have ATP releasing some heat, some energy, and we're using that energy. And this is a constant process that is happening in our body, in all the cells. But we don't need to go down to that level of detail, but I just thought I'll give you an idea. Now, in this, at every step, we need protein. Protein as an enzyme will support the catalysis. It'll enable the reaction to happen. So protein is everywhere in abundance. And then let's talk about calories. Now we've spoken about food, the carbon cycle. If you talk about calories is actually physics. So the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water to 1 degree Celsius is calories. What we use calories for is to measure how much food we are taking and all that. Carbohydrate typically is 4 calories per gram. Protein is 4 calories. Fat is 9 calories per gram. Fat is very dense. And in the previous slide, I've spoken about ATP molecule. Now, ATP itself, when it's hydrolyzed, that means when it's broken down, it releases 7.3 calories of energy. So as you can see, it's getting very complex, as in everything has an energy factor to it, and everything will give us energy. And in the previous slide, we have seen there are multiple steps and there are multiple ATP molecules produced at the same time. So it is not as straightforward as us calculating calories. But unfortunately, calories is the only way we can measure. It works, so we tend to use it. But in my opinion, calories is a very rudimentary, or maybe rudimentary is not the word, it's a foundational way of calculating energy, where there is, when you go break down food into different components, that is where the devil is, and that is what impacts our health. Now, what does this calories mean to us? If in our daily lives, we breathe in, we digest food, then we move food through our digestive system, we have kidneys, we have liver, all these organs are functioning, your heart is beating, all that energy is called basal metabolic rate. So basal metabolic rate is the minimum amount of energy that our body needs to function. And how this is calculated based on our height and weight. There is a complex formula that goes behind it. And this is typically when you're in a rested state. So for example, I'm just sitting down now, not doing much. I look at my heart rate, it's typically quite low. That's called resting heart rate. Now, there is, because I'm talking, I'm moving my hand, I'm moving my lips, I'm using a little bit extra energy. And that extra energy is called non-exercise calorie expenditure. So if I'm cleaning my house, I'm making myself a coffee, I'm having a shower, all of that falls under non-exercise calories. Then there is exercise calories. Now, this is when your heart rate is a bit more higher. You're walking, you're doing exercise, and so on. Now, on a day-to-day basis, combining all these will form your total daily energy expenditure. Now, fundamentally, if you are eating less calories than your total daily energy expenditure, you will be losing carbon. So I'm saying carbon, I won't say weight, because that carbon could be anything. It could be your muscle, it could be your fat, it could be your organs deteriorating, it could be anything. So fundamentally, when you're eating less than what is needed, your body will let go of some carbon. Okay, now thinking along the same lines, let's think about donut, and let's think about a bowl of salad with lots of beans and avocado and some nice vegetables. Both are 500 calories. Now think about what happens when a person eats a donut versus what happens when a person eats a bowl of salad. The performance varies significantly, right? And that is because of the components that are present in these foods, right? So donut or anything sweet, any mita, whatever we are making, even you can compare donuts to our roti or our, just that they don't have sugar, but they're still starches and carbs. Your insulin will go up and your body will start to store fat. But again, on the other side, salad and beans, that's all very rich in fiber, and it's rich in micronutrients, vitamins and minerals and so on. Your body is actually getting supercharged. That means you're able to perform better. Every cell in your body is getting some really good stuff to perform better, right? Now, keep that in your mind, and let's break what's inside the food a little bit more. Now, glucose, like I said, it's starch. As soon as you eat glucose, your body digests it. It goes into glucose units. Anything, pasta, bread, rice, roti, any of the starches, even beans has starch in it. But the difference between beans and roti is beans is high in fiber, so the digestion is slower. But for roti, digestion is much faster, so it quickly digests it goes into your blood. And as soon as it goes into your blood, it is like adding sugar in water. So imagine you add sugar into water. You add 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons, 4 teaspoons, water gets thicker, right? But your poor heart is trying to pump the thick blood, right? Now, not to mention, there is 44,000 miles of blood vessels in our body, in every person's body. And some of them are really, really fine arteries, and your heart is trying to pump. But then, it says, I can't do this anymore. Then your pancreas will receive a signal, and pancreas will produce insulin because they need to take glucose out of your blood. Then this insulin goes to every cell in your body, knocks at the doors and says, hey, take up some glucose, man, take up some glucose. And it goes to your muscles and liver and says, take up some glucose, store it. So there are two storages, right? One is short-term storage, which is glycogen, and then there is longer-term storage, which is fat. If you haven't been active, your liver and your muscles are possibly already full. And then what happens? Your body will have to take it out of your blood. So it will take it and convert it into fat and put it in fat. Now, fat doesn't always mean that it's going into your belly. It can go anywhere. It can go around your organs. It can go in your blood vessels and so on. And as you are in this surplus state, eventually that will lead to diseases such as insulin resistance, diabetes, fatty liver, blood pressure. And once the pipes are all fully clogged, that will lead to stroke and heart attack. Proteins, same thing. Proteins also, fundamentally, they are amino acids when they're broken down. So as you consume protein, when they go into your body, they get broken down into amino acids. They go into your blood, and from blood, they're transported into all these different cells. And like I showed you in that complex pathway, where every step needs protein. Now, from amino acids, our cells produce those enzymes and use them. So that's happening all the time, parallelly, right? Now, when there is not enough protein, what does body do? When there is not enough dietary protein, body is going to take some protein out of your muscles and use it up. So your muscles will start to deteriorate because it needs to run the cell, right? It needs those enzymes and hormones to run the cells, right? Now, if you're eating excess protein, you have exercised, then your body is going to be like, oh, okay, there is excess protein. Let's build some muscle. The person has exercised. Let's repair. And then if you are on a calorie surplus, you have more calories, then anything excess is going back into storage, right? So something to remember is if you have high glucose, if your insulin is high, you're going to store, regardless whether you are in a calorie deficit, because you had an insulin spike. This is where the difference between donut and salad comes into picture. Now, protein, same thing. If you're not eating enough protein, you'll start losing muscle. If you're not exercising, you'll lose muscle. If you're not eating sufficient calories, you'll lose muscle. And you don't want to be losing muscle, because as you're getting over time, when you're passing through 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, the more muscle you lose, the more prone you are for fractures and back pains and whatnot. Okay, now fats. Most of us think fats are really bad, but fats do have some really important function. Every cell in our body has a cell wall, and that cell wall is actually fat. It's a fat layer because it's nicely thick and packed, so that it's called a phospholipid layer, as you can see here on the top. There are 2 to 3 trillion cells, and every year our body recycles all these cells. So next year, you're a completely new person. All these 2 to 3 trillion cells are all brand new. So there needs brand new cell walls, and there needs brand new certain hormones and so on for these cells to function. But again, if there is excess fat, body is going to store it. So if you're eating too much fat than what is needed, your body is going to store it. And again, where does it store? it stores in your arteries, around your liver, kidneys, and so on. And then, yeah, again, that will lead to diseases. So fundamentally, carbs, protein, fats, everything has their own function. And if you're eating surplus of any of those, then what is needed, then that is not going to end well. Okay, now let's talk about the most important thing for any human is their gut health. Now, this is there's been a lot of research in the last 10 years. Our gut, from our mouths to all the way to the other end, is around 10 meters. And this whole thing is filled with bacteria. Now, other than stomach is very acidic. But when you go to the colon, there are trillions and trillions of bacteria. Again, you can broadly classify them into two different groups: good bacteria, bad bacteria. As simple as that. I mean, you can go into a lot more depth, but for this discussion, that's good enough. Now, the more bad bacteria there is, they will start eating us from the inside. And when they're eating us from the inside, there is a mucus layer inside the pipe here that you can see inside this fine pipe. And when this bad bacteria starts to eat up all the mucus, as soon as it starts to hit the wall, then the entire gut will inflame. And when your entire gut is inflamed, your body will trigger a stress response, a repair mechanism, and it will try to reduce that inflammation, it will try to control it. But then the more of fried and oily foods and junk foods that we eat, the more bad bacteria takes over, and it's a never-winning battle. Now, the most interesting part is this gut is connected to all the organs in the body, every single organ in the body, and it's constantly communicating. So there is a chemical exchange between all these organs and the gut. So depending on what we are eating, we probably are feeling good. So it's a very weird reaction, right? One side, when you're eating nice samosas and oily stuff, your brain is really enjoying it. It's producing dopamine and it's saying, wow, this is so cool, because brain itself is connected to gut, right? But on the other hand, the bad chemicals that are produced are again going into all these organs, and it's leading to all kinds of diseases. So gut is really, really important. Now, going back to our donut and salad once again, I think it now makes sense why this bowl of salad is way, way superior for us than the donut. And also, this salad is very high in fiber, all the beans and legumes, and what they do is they produce a lot of really good chemicals in our gut, which get absorbed into our brain, into all our organs, and our performance is really good. Now, how much food to eat? Now, that all depends on how active you are. If you're in a sedentary job, then you don't eat much. You don't need much food. You can eat high protein, which is about 1 gram per kilo of body weight, low carb, low fat, high fiber foods. If you are taking about 10,000 steps, I would still say eat low carbs. If you're very sedentary, I would say don't even worry about eating carbs. Eat fibrous carbs like beans, legumes, any of the vegetables and stuff, but no wheat, rice, bread, pastas. No, if you're on a sedentary life. But if you're on the more active you're getting, you can eat some carbs, because carbs can give you some energy. Like I said, short-term storage is in your muscles and in your liver. So if you have glycogen filled up, you'll get some instant energy and you'll be able to perform better, even as an athlete. When you see tennis players, when they're taking a break, they come and grab a quick banana. They eat half a banana. That is because it's fibrous carbs. It gives slow energy. Their muscles will start replenishing with glycogen and they can perform better. And that's why they eat some carbs. So that's where even on the extreme side, I've put moderate carbs. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about dopamine. Dopamine is a molecule which is a really, really fascinating molecule. It kind of controls the way a person, I would say, behaves. Behaves as in not being a good or bad person, but more so it drives our eating behaviors. It drives our what we indulge in, because whenever we indulge in anything pleasurable, we produce dopamine. What happens when you, like, say, Instagram Reels or some nice funny movie, you watch it the first time, your brain produces dopamine, and the region where it produced dopamine, you have some new neural networks that are forming. And next time, what brain does, this is very fascinating, it starts produce, even when you think of that movie or a funny reel that you watched or a sweet that you had, your brain will start producing dopamine. And that is what is giving you motivation to go and pursue that reward, right? And that is why if you play a musical instrument, you play well, your brain will produce more dopamine next time. You want to go back to it, you want to play it again. If you have eaten some delicious food, same thing happens. So what it is giving us is not pleasure, but it's giving us motivation. We think that dopamine gives us pleasure, but dopamine is responsible for motivation. Think of it like there is a mountain, there is bananas on top of the mountain, you're extremely hungry, you will go and get bananas, right? But if someone gave you a plate of biryani down at the bottom of the mountain where you are, then there's no way you're going to go get that bananas, right? But what is actually driving you to go get the bananas to begin with is dopamine. A person without dopamine, or a rat, when they've taken the dopamine gene out, the rat was not moving even an inch to get food. The rats were dying because they just have no motivation in them. On the other side, not just motivation, it also helps in movement. That means if you're moving, that's because of dopamine. Now, what's happening in modern day is we all indulge in dopamine and in dopaminergic activities. And every time we are watching movies, we are eating junk food, we are having alcohol or doing anything dopaminergic, we have this huge release of dopamine and then it crashes. That means we won't have, the factories are empty in our head. We won't have dopamine to pursue other meaningful activities. So dopamine serves as a universal currency. So it's very important that we safeguard our dopamine reserves. And that's why in my life, I have eliminated movies, I've eliminated Instagrams, I eat junk food very minimally. And my motivation to pursue so-called boring tasks like reading books or playing musical instrument, making videos for people is super high. Like I crave to do those activities. So not just dopamine, there is also serotonin, there is GABA, there is acetylcholine, glutamate. All of these hormones are responsible for our performance in different shape or form. Like serotonin is a happy hormone, it'll keep you happy. GABA is a calming hormone, it'll modulate your sleep cycle. Acetylcholine will help with learning and memory. Glutamate also helps with learning and memory and so on. The most fascinating fact is all of these are produced in your gut by your gut bacteria. And they produce all this only when you're eating nice foods, and it's only good gut bacteria that produce these. 95% of serotonin is produced in your gut, 90 to 95%. So imagine the overall well-being and happiness of a person and their sleep cycle, their digestive system regulation, everything is completely dependent on their gut. Now, as I've said previously, holistic health is not just about eating lots of vegetables, right? You should also have other healthy habits. You should walk in the sun. You need to have proper light exposure. You should also exercise a little bit and so on. So again, it's not purely eating beans. It's a constellation of activities. Stress. I want to talk quickly about stress. Stress is actually an illusion. That means, think of a tiger. There is a tiger in front of us. What our body does is it will send a signal through in our adrenal glands, produce adrenaline, and push you to take an action, flight or fight response, right? You'll either fight a tiger or you'll fly, like you want to run away. But if a person is thinking that there could be a tiger, but there is no tiger, right? Arey, tiger aayega, arey, there is a tiger. That's fear, right? If they're constantly thinking about it, then they're still producing adrenaline and cortisol, and their body is constantly stressed. So there are two awareness. One is called awakened awareness, and the other thing is achieving awareness. Awakened awareness, when you're sitting in the beach, you're watching sunset, you should focus on your breathing. Your breathing actually slows down, right? And you're not thinking about anything else in this world. You're just hearing to the beach waves, the noises, the cool breeze and all. That is called awakened awareness, where your senses are just broad, they're opened up, right? But if you think about your office work, your deliverable, or your deadlines, that's more achieving awareness, you're focused. But if you're thinking about your boss telling you off, then you are in your achieving awareness. And the more time you are in your achieving awareness, the more likely you're going to be stressed. But how do we flick into awakened awareness? There is a huge body of research that shows spirituality is one way, or embracing nature, looking into the stars and sky, or staying more in that awakened awareness state is the best way to reduce stress. And participants who have been part of the research of who are depressed actually has thinner prefrontal cortex, the layer in the brain. When they started embracing spirituality, they had the prefrontal cortex, the cortical layer was much more thicker. So that means the new neural networks were becoming more stronger, and they were able to perform better, they were able to remember better, and so on. This is just same thing like I spoke, continuous stress cycle. When you're constantly watching movies, junk food, alcohol, partying, it's a constant stress cycle. And on the other side, you have short-term stress response, which is really good, where you exercise, you get some stress, or you do fasting, you get some stress, you go take a nap, you sleep, you wake up, you're growing, and so on. That is a good stress cycle to be in, but not on the left-hand side where you see continuous stress cycle. Now, there are nervous system, there are two layers. One is sympathetic nervous system and the other is parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is associated with stress, cortisol, anger, fear. So every time someone is worried that a tiger is going to come eat them, they're just stressing and activating the sympathetic nervous system, producing a lot of adrenaline, cortisol, and stressing themselves, and the body is fully inflamed, and so on. But on the other side, when you're walking in the nature, when you're communicating, connecting with nature, when you're meditating, when you're eating high fiber foods, when you're slowing your breathing down, relaxing, and so on, that is when your parasympathetic nervous system is active. So the more your parasympathetic nervous system is active, the better decisions you're going to make every day in, day out.
Sorry, I'll interrupt for a minute, Dinesh.
Yeah.
If you go back to previous slide, this words sympathetic and parasympathetic, they are not intuitive. This seems like counterintuitive. Sympathetic is
Yeah,
very generally positive word, but you
yes,
are
yes.
touching with fear. And can you clarify that again? Because it's not making sense yet.
Yeah. So sympathetic, that's how it is labeled scientifically. So sympathetic is anything that is more on the outer side, and parasympathetic is something that is underlying. So that's where para word comes into picture. So, but still, it throws me off sometimes too. But sympathetic is the external nervous system, which is more driven mostly by but when your breathing is more shallow, like you tend to breathe faster, and that's when you produce adrenaline and so on.
Yep, thank you.
Here is a quick representation of what happens when your parasympathetic nervous system is active or your sympathetic nervous system is active. Your pupils dilate, your mouth becomes a bit dry, your airways dilate, your heart beats faster, your digestion stops, your liver will start releasing glucose, so you have more energy to run, intestine shuts off, you're producing more epinephrine, norepinephrine, which is adrenaline and noradrenaline, and then your bladder relaxes. That is one. So normally, when a person is really scared, they might have incontinence, and then there will be decreased blood flow to reproduction. So staying in that stressful state also will impact reproductive health. And time to time, we see most people who are constantly indulging in junk food, they are struggling to conceive these days, younger generation, and that is purely because the body is in a constant state of stress, and that's why their reproductive system is kind of shut off. There's no proper blood flow to those areas, and they're not really able to conceive and so on. And on the other side, it's exactly opposite. It's more relaxed state where digestion kicks in, heart beats much slower, and then your reproductive system it gets active, and it's much more easier to conceive. Fasting. So I would like to give 5 takeaways. I know we're running out of time. I'll run quickly through this. So there are some really easy tools to stay healthy. Fasting is one of the tools. The person who has discovered autophagy, a mechanism where body churns out dead proteins and cells and uses that for energy, is called autophagy. A person who has discovered this is Oshinori Osumi, a biochemist, and he has won Nobel Prize for this discovery. So when a person fasts for 12 plus hours, that is when they run out of glycogen, which I spoke about, the short-term stores, and then body will tap into fat. That's when at 13 to 14 hours is where your body will start using fat for fuel source. And the longer you fast, the more fat you're going to burn. And then autophagy ramps up. And what's fascinating is after 72 hours of fast, body produces BDNF, brain-derived neurogenic factor, which kind of strengthens your brain. And also it produces, with autophagy, it'll build muscle. And the reason why genetics is doing this is that when previously we used to fast and feast, so we didn't have food all the time available. So when a person is going without food, body tries to become a bit stronger and smarter so that they can go and find food. So yeah, fasting is an exceptional tool. Fiber is your magic pill. Like I said, there are no magic pills, but I lied. Fiber is your magic pill. And how do you get fiber? You can incorporate 30 different plants per week, and that's the best thing you can do to perform really well. I've already spoken about how much food to eat. Now, if you would like to eat some occasional sweet, like we all have birthdays, we have celebration, and so on, I wouldn't recommend eating sweets, but still you can combine it with fiber. But at the same time, be active. So let's say you went out to a restaurant with your family, you had lunch. Make sure you have a lot of vegetables, and then go for a walk when you come back, because that's how you earn It's like a currency to earn tasty food. Insulin, unfortunately, is your enemy. The more insulin spikes you have in your blood, the more fat you're going to store, because that is the signal that goes to your liver saying, hey, there is too much glucose, start storing it away. And also, at some point, the more insulin is produced, you become insulin resistant, type 2 diabetic, and so on. So insulin, in my opinion, is your enemy. How to mitigate that? Walking. Walking is just walk all day. I don't sit in one place for more than half an hour. 15 minutes. If I don't have meetings, 15 minutes, I get up and go walk around. I go upstairs, grab water, come back down, and so on. Today, I have done 11,000 steps all inside the house. And then eating a lot of fiber, lot of legumes, beans, pods, any lentils with skin, everything with skin. We tend to eat things without skin. So that is one best way to keep your insulin low. The more insulin you keep, the lower it is, the less fat you will store and the more healthy you will be. Where is wealth? I was talking about wealth, but where is wealth? So, and like I said, everyone has their own goals, right? And if you, any successful person you see, they say you got to dream big, you have to identify your passion, your purpose, and then you determine your goals and your actions. Now, the focus actually comes, and motivation comes from your dopamine system. So depending on the activities you're doing and depending on what you're eating, you can regulate your dopamine system. So that way, once you have your action plan, your goals, and you know your purpose, you're daily repeating your actions or your behavior. And that's where even Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is focus on your duty. Don't focus on the results. Don't focus on your goals, just because every action you're taking today is changing the future outcome. If a person is just sitting down here, not walking, sitting down here, eating junk food, sitting down here, not exercising, the outcomes are changing, right? If a person gets up, walks around, the outcome has just changed, because if that person is doing that every single day, after 5 years or 6 years or 5 months, that the trajectory is actually shifting and changing, if you know what I mean. So that's why you got to focus on your actions. You got to have an action plan, and you got to regulate your dopamine system and maintain a good gut health to ensure that you're doing you're taking the right steps and performing the right actions. Game theory. I wish I could talk a little bit more about this. Now, game theory is I relate game theory with quantum physics a little bit, and just what I spoke about, the outcomes and all that. Every person is making complex decisions every single day, and we are interacting with every person. So one best way to align with every person, to collaborate and get the best outcome, is by understanding what they're thinking, right? To give one simple example, there is a bacteria called Lactobacillus reuteri, which is a bacteria that is transferred from mother's breast milk to kids. That bacteria is typically, it should have been a common bacteria, but unfortunately, due to antibiotics, it doesn't exist in 25. In every 25 adults, it exists only in one adult. Now, what this bacteria does is it produces something called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that will make you feel good, and at the same time, it'll build empathy in you, right? So that means when you're connecting with another person, you're more empathetic. And who would have thought a bacteria has so much control? Now, I know how to get more of reuteri, but which I will probably cover in another episode. This is a pictorial that shows how complex it is, right? Decisions made by animals, decision made by all the other people, everything impacts our life. So the more information we have, the better mental state we are in, the better decisions we can make, and the better actions we can perform today. So if a person says, oh, I lost money in business because the market is not good. Sorry, someone has won in that market. So it is unfortunately you haven't used your biology to make the right decisions, because there is a whole constellation of activities you should have undertaken to have done the best to get the best outcomes. Now, game theory, John Nash. I don't know if you know this person, a legend who has won Nobel Prize for game theory. Here is a video from a YouTube channel called Veritasium. What game theory reveals about life, the universe, and everything. I strongly recommend watching that. It's a fantastic video. Now, typical productive day. Mine. I wake up early, meditate, hydrate myself, then do some deep focus work, cold shower, drop my kids, come back, work again, have black coffee, water, and that's it. Some salt if I'm hungry. So I normally fast for 18 to 20 hours every single day. Sometimes I just eat one meal a day. I work out maybe 3 days a week, depends how much time I have. And then obviously I have a sleep routine as well, where I avoid blue light. Now, if you're seeing my screen, I don't know if you can see, I have night light turned on, which means I don't see any blue light. It's completely red. That'll help better sleep. And also I take a warm shower, have sleep tea, again, meditate before I go to bed, and read and journal. Here is an ideal plate. What it should have: high fibrous carbs, lentils with skin, beans with skin, boiled vegetables, fruits, berries, nuts, and seeds. Healthy fats, like if you're a non-vegetarian, fish or olive oil. High protein. I would avoid animal sources for longevity. There's a lot of science around it, and you avoid fried food as well. And low starchy or sugary food, so low rice, low pasta, low bread, rotis, and sugars. Here are some of my favorite books. Most of the content that I covered today is covered in these books. Awakened Brain is by Dr. Lisa Miller. It's about awakened awareness and achieving awareness. The Source is neuroplasticity, how to manifest your life that you want by using neuroplasticity. Fiber Fueled is all about fiber, how to enhance gut health. And the next two books are about dopamine, how to regulate your dopamine system. Now, some of these concepts are a bit siloed, and that is what I try to do. I try to pull all these together. I would want to educate people and the community that all of these are important pieces. Like say, if someone had 5 samosas, they can't go marathon running. It's impossible, right? So it's very important that we preserve our dopamine if we want to run marathon. And same goes with fiber as well. You got to eat proper good amount of fiber to ensure that you have right energy in your marathon. That's pretty much it from me. I hope that was a bit rushed, not.
No, that's all right. And if you have some slide on your contact details or YouTube channel or something you may want to share, or maybe just share on the screen, people can search it out for you if you want to share that bit, or maybe later.
Maybe later I can share in the chat, or we can send a message or so.
Yep. And if I may ask quick questions, and then I'll ask audience to ask some closing questions as well. We're conscious of time. My question is in 2 parts, but they're closely related. And as you said, there's no magic pill to things, right? But is there any way people switching from bad habits to good one? Is there any quick gut detox process? And the second part to this question, which will answer it possibly, but in more structured way, is about your fasting slide you had. You had different benefits at different times of fasting, you said, but what is the correct process? How do you adopt different fasting styles, or do you just pick randomly? I don't understand, when do you pick 14, 24, or 72?
That's a good question, Suryaji. So fasting is, not everyone can fast, right? The layer that dominates fasting is dopamine, in my opinion. So depending on how much a person is, I wouldn't call it addicted, but it's basically dopamine that drives you towards going and eating food. So you can take it slowly. You can start 10 hours, then 11 hours, then 12 hours. There are certain tools in my YouTube channel I share. Water is your best friend. If you can take salt, you can sprinkle some salt in water and gulp it down. That'll curb your hunger. And then some herbal teas also are good without sugar and milk. They will also help prolong your fast. So the more you can fast, the better. But again, you can't fast every other like 72 hours twice a week. Some people might go do that, but it's more that's where there is Ekadasi that in Hindu tradition we do every month. So twice every month we do 36-hour fast. So yeah, depending on every person where they are at with their life, it's better to consult because it varies from case to case also. It's better to consult a healthcare professional to understand clearly how much they can fast. And either way, if they're jumping on the fasting bandwagon, they have to go really slowly. Now, I have done 72-hour fast in the past, but it took me 7 to 8 years of training to get to that stage. Yeah.
So is there any quick and easy solution for gut detox for general people to start with going into good trajectory?
I would say the best way to start is to reduce the amount of starchy carbs that they're having on their plate. So every time someone is having a plate in front of them, think about how much starchy and sugary carbs there is in this meal. And as soon as they see, oh, there is a lot, they got to reduce it. They got to reduce it and fill up the plate with vegetables, different vegetables. So there is so many different vegetables in our Indian tradition: rajma, chole, chena, chickpea, and all. If you go to Indian grocery, one whole rack is full of beans and lentils. So they can pick any and rotate them across different days. And yeah, more of those than compared to starchy or sugary carbs. That's the best way to do it. But one thing I would like to caution there is those who haven't been eating a lot of vegetables, they probably already have their gut is not very much ready to take that type of fiber. So it's better to start very slowly and then see how they're responding, and then increase their amount of whatever they're eating. For example, if they start to have rajma, start with 1 tablespoon, see how the gut is reacting. You'll obviously have some bloating and some gas, which is natural. Again, have another teaspoon another day, see how your gut is responding, and slowly gut will get used to it because the bacterial strains will start to establish. Because if they haven't eaten high fiber, there are so many complex types of fibers across different plant-based foods. So if they have never eaten chena on a weekly basis, then they wouldn't have those bacteria that will break down chena, for example, right? So they have to slowly introduce chena back to the point that they will not experience bloating and gas or so on.
Yep. Thank you. Kashish, you try to unmute yourself. If you have a question, you can ask, and request all other audience as well to ask closing
No,
question.
I'm simply blown away. I'll have to go and watch this recording carefully. That's all. Thank you so much, Dinesh. I have a lot to do, but no questions for now. I'm simply blown away. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I'm asking Kashish. Kashish, you try to
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
You can ask a question if you have any question.
No, I don't have any questions as of now. I've been following Dinesh for a while now, and I've been incorporating all of it in my life, and I've seen some drastic changes over the period of time. I have also lost most of my inflammation and gut related issues with the diet that I'm following. Also, I've switched mostly to vegetarian and I've stopped eating meat, and that has also impacted my moods on a daily basis. And I've seen a lot of results lately, and I'm actually blown too. So I'm very grateful to Dinesh for all of it. It's all of his efforts that we've come so far, everyone in our group. So thank you so much, Dinesh, for all of it. I'm very grateful.
Now, I would actually thank everyone who are trusting in me. But I guess I really commend everyone taking that effort. Whilst change is hard, like I said, it's actually addictive. Once you embark on this journey, you will really don't want to go back, because like I said, eating junk food is addictive, but when you start eating clean, the results will become so addictive that you're like, oh, I want to keep repeating this again and again. I don't want to go back. We recently moved and we haven't commissioned our TV yet. It's been almost 10 days. Our TV is, we never turn the TV on. So yeah, we pretty much, when you try to avoid that, then what you traditionally think is boring becomes so interesting. So which is like eating salads or doing hard work and so on.
Yep. Santoshji, Surag bhai, any questions from your end?
It was mind-boggling. The whole thing was when you said, Dinesh, 36 hours and 3 times in a week. So it's a lot of days gone without food.
Oh no, I meant we shouldn't do that. Some people might end up doing it. I'm saying we shouldn't be doing that. But I have done only 36 hours, probably twice a month or so in the past. Yeah. The interesting part is when you go without food, the first 24 hours, your brain will fight. After that, you'll start feeling really good. I think Surag has also done extended fasting a few times, and he can resonate his views as well on this.
And is fasting good for at every age?
Well, that's where I said it's better to consult a healthcare professional. If you haven't been fasting, depending on your age and your metabolism, it's better to take it slowly and see how you're responding. A minimum of 10 hours fasting anyone can do. Then you see push it to 11 hours and 12 hours and so on. Again, it depends on any pre-existing medical conditions as well. If someone is diabetic, then I don't recommend, they shouldn't be fasting, because they might have huge fluctuations in their glucose levels in their body, and then they might faint and stuff. So for them, the strategy will be a bit different. So it is case by case.
Sorry, is it fasting when you take your evening meal early, about at 6:30, and take the breakfast at about 10 o'clock next day?
Yeah, that's still fasting. You would have fasted for almost 6 to 6:12, about 16 hours, which is really good.
So I don't consider myself fasting, but that is my routine.
Oh, nice.
So that's part of your life. You're already
It's
doing
a
the right
part of
thing.
my life.
You're already doing right thing. And that was one of my questions, Dinesh, is that sometimes in your one of this, the when your calorie burn versus how much you should consume in your screen there, you should also include the concept of age. With age, also you need to adapt your intake.
Yes. So that's where we can, every single slide, to be honest, can be a topic for half an hour discussion.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much my 2 years of work. I have tried to consolidate really quickly, and just to give a bit of an overview and the flavor of how different things come and play a huge role in our performance. That the performance, when I talk about performance in this complex world, our performance alone doesn't matter, right? Because we are constantly working with others around us, and every decision, and everyone has their own views, they have their free will. It is more of us aligning with them, but in the end producing an outcome that is more meaningful for all of us, right? So yeah, it's very important to optimize our performance, at the same time become more empathetic, and compose ourselves, not just be emotionally driven, balance our hormones, and so on. So all of that combined will drive those outcomes. And hence is why I thought I'll give a flavor of all of it, but each topic we can drill a lot deeper. And what, to your point, yes, basal metabolic rate actually varies for people who are much older, so their overall calorie intake will be much lower.
Yep, makes sense. Thank you so much. Surag, your comments?
Nah, I'm all good. I've been fasting every now and then, mostly on Ekadashis, and it's been a good experience, I guess. I think we started a little slow, 16 hours every day as intermittent fasting, keeping 8-hour window just for eating is a good start. And then every Ekadashi I started adding another 8 hours to it. So Dinesh, I should give you a lot of credit. It's 36 hours is nothing. We actually did up to 3 days. So
Yeah.
it was massive. Yeah.
Yep, thank you, Surag. Any further closing comments from you, Dinesh, before we conclude?
No, it's all good. So you can find me on Instagram, success.science.yt is my ID. And on YouTube also, you can search Success Science, and you'll be able to find me there. And my email address is all in there. So if you need any further assistance and support, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh. I can stop sharing a screen. So,
Thank you all.
so,
Good.
Thank
yep.
you.
With that note, I'd like to formally thank Dinesh Bhai for giving us your time for the community, for giving so comprehensive, wide, diverse topic consolidated into one, giving us the holistic view of life as a whole and how the core of health comes to gut health and how to manage it to make us a better person and successful person for that matter. So, and as you said, there's no magic pill, and we'll slowly absorb your recommendations and deep dive into those diverse topics and make changes into our life. But you have planted seed in our mind to explore ourselves, connect more with the nature, more in healthy routine. And thank you so much for your contribution to the community by giving this wisdom, sharing this wisdom and knowledge. I encourage more community members to come forward, share your knowledge, and be speaker on this webinar. I'll update next Wednesday's webinar topic shortly, but for now, this is what we have, and I'll share this recording on YouTube. YouTube details are there on the flyer, and also we shared it on FIAV Facebook page. So subscribe to YouTube and FIAV page, and you can get more updates on upcoming webinars. So with that note, I'll thank you all once again for joining, and
Thank you.
good night and have a great evening.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.